Joe Jr. was my dad's cousin, and he was basically my second cousin. He's a 4-H leader up in Clark County, and he got untimely in an accident and got killed in December of 1971. He was just on the verge of moving to a different county. He was going to go to Pierce County. And Joe graduated in the early 50s. Right after that, he got a notification to go on a senior trip to Korea. He was a veteran of the Korean War. After that, he decided to better himself by going to college. He's a graduate of UW River Falls. With that, he was interested in the youth, and that's what I imagine he got a chance to work for Clark County in the 4-H division. Right after he got killed, my aunt and uncle were up in age. They'd asked Joe Jr. if he was interested in part of the farm, and that because they were on the verge of retiring. And he says, "Nah, Ma," he says, "just sell the farm, do what you need to do, but save me a little 40 acres or something like that, so when I retire I got a place to maybe build a house next to the river, or I can bring a bunch of kids down here camping or something like that." Well, then he got killed in his car accident, and my aunt and uncle were devastated. That was their only child, and they was gone from them. Well, my aunt and uncle were very good friends with Ray Shanklin, who was the 4-H leader here in Trempealeau County. And they wanted to do something in memory of their son. And basically that's how this come about. They worked with Joe and Emily. They ended up donating 110 acres to the county for the youth of this county. And it developed into a real hidden secret in the county here. And I remember he must have had a lot of influence on the area, because I remember we got notified that he got killed, but I remember seeing on the bottom of the TV on Channel 13 News that Joe Pietrek was killed in a car accident, and it said County 4-H leader for Clark County. He didn't say anything, but he had a professional portrait done of himself, and he'd never even seen that picture. And it was close to Christmas, and I know when my aunt and uncle went to clean his apartment out, there were Christmas presents that were wrapped in his closet at home. But yeah, I can see that he was, the outdoorsy person and a farmer, and underneath that was a businessman that, with a necktie on, and he just liked being associated with young people.
Joe left when I was 15, so I joined 4-H when I was 9. Actually was involved with the fair before that because of my family. But yes, I remember Joe well. Joe was the agent, and I remember the agent before him was John Unkin, because my older brothers were involved at that time. But yeah, knew Joe. He was young, he was vivacious. He really had a youthful spirit about him. I remember when he announced his resignation that he was moving to another county, a lot of people were disappointed to see him go, because they really did think a lot of Joe and what he had done for 4-H. And for those of us who were in 4-H at the time, he was the guy that we kind of looked up to. And one of my brothers said it best. He said he was not afraid that if you did something wrong, you were going to be shoveling manure. That was just the standard that at that time you had manure piles and you had to load it on the spreaders. And so there's a lot of 4-H clubs that were on the business end of a fork. But I think it was that young enthusiasm that he had, that he brought to the fair, that he brought to, I think he had an understanding. He enjoyed working with the youth, and that was evident. And I think he had just a great relationship with those of us who were in 4-H at the time. Well, he had just resigned from Clark County. So, we kind of had, for lack of a better term, a death in the family anyway, because he had announced he was leaving, and we were sorry to see him go to leave Clark County, but we knew how good he was and why he would move up to a bigger county. But then when he was killed, I remember, hearing it on the radio the next morning, and it was like, oh my gosh, and you feel bad in that oftentimes few of us experience death that close at hand. But especially someone that all of us knew and really enjoyed, really liked, really looked up to. And so the biggest loss was what the next county lost. They never got to know what Joe Pietrek was. And they missed that. And you kind of, in retrospect, look back and think, how many youth did not have the opportunity to experience what we did in Clark County?
Well, I think I joined 4-H in 1952. At that time, you had to be 10 years old before you could join. And at the time, first was Larry Babka, and a couple of years later, he was replaced by Joel. Had the opportunity to work with Joel for about 6 years that I was involved. Oh, you would have thought he was kind of gruff, but not really. Down deep in his heart, he was very kind, liked to have fun, liked to get things done. I mean, let's not procrastinate, let's keep working and do our best. One year I was able to go to State Fair, and he was a chaperone, and I don't say we were all real good kids down there, but he made us aware of what we had to do. I guess at the time we had a home agent too, but we were so used to having a man for 4-H agent, and he was caring. He'd come out to the farm, and most of us at that time were mostly farm kids that were in 4-H, or farm students, I should say, or whatever, members. He was interested in our projects. He cared about us very kindly. I mean, it was such a sudden, hard time when we lost him.
Yeah.
He had been such a part of, well, he even went, I think, to the church that I did to in Neilsville at the time. I'm really glad that he was a part of my life.
What else do you want to share?
Well, how this park has come a long ways. I mean, when you see it from the early stages of a windy river come through here, sand field, sandberry all over the place, and all that what started here was just 6 posts and a roof over it. That was it. And I remember right after it was started, the Pietreks had a family reunion out here, and it's amazed for what has happened now with basically the early stages of what volunteer help and that, and like we had talked earlier, I don't maybe have a question, but my buddy's buddy might have an answer to this, and that's how this park was started out with a lot of donated labor and help and just connections.
What do you think he would think of this park?
I think he would absolutely love it. It's probably one of these, Joe would have probably at times maybe had a wall tent set up here and stay here for a week in the summer and stuff like that, because this is home. Where this park is sitting at, just at the intersection of Lewis Valley and Highway 93, was the Pietrek homestead, and they homesteaded this in 1868. So I mean, this is one way of saying it's still part of the Pietrek family.